The obsidian hall had stood for 12,000 years. It was carved from the heart of a dead star, and it floated in the empty space between three galaxies. This was where the oldest beings in the universe came to make decisions. This was where they decided which species would rise and which would fall. This was the Galactic Council. Ambassador Kira Vasquez stood at the great doors and tried to keep her hands from shaking. She was 47 years old. She had served Earth for 20 years. She had faced criminals, terrorists, and politicians who smiled while they lied. None of that had prepared her for this moment. The doors were 300 meters tall. They were made of something that looked like glass, but was harder than any metal humans had ever found. Strange symbols covered their surface. The symbols moved and changed when she was not looking directly at them. A voice spoke inside her mind. It was not sound. It was meaning pushed directly into her thoughts. The human ambassador may enter. The council waits. The doors opened without a sound. Beyond them lay a chamber so large that clouds floated near its ceiling. Thousands of platforms hung in the air at different heights. On each platform stood beings that humans had only seen in reports and dreams and nightmares. The Valori were there. They were the oldest. They looked like humans made of broken light. Their bodies shifted and changed color with each thought they had. They had founded this council when humanity's ancestors were still learning to walk upright. The Cathari were there. They looked like insects the size of elephants. Their shells were black and red, and their many eyes followed Kira as she walked. They were the warriors of the council. Their fleets had destroyed 10,000 civilizations that broke the council's laws. The Morvani were there. They were made of living crystal. They did not move much, but their surfaces flickered with lights that meant things Kira could not understand. They were the thinkers, the philosophers, the ones who wrote the laws that governed the galaxy. And there were thousands more. Species that breathed methane. Species that lived in the hearts of stars. Species that existed in 11 dimensions at once. Species so strange that human eyes could not fully see them. All of them were looking at her. Kira walked to the center of the chamber. Her boots made soft sounds on the floor that seemed too loud in the silence. A platform rose beneath her feet and carried her up until she floated at the same level as the eldest members. The High Arbiter of the Valori turned to face her. It was the oldest living thing Kira had ever seen. Its light was pale, almost tired, like a candle that had burned for too long. But its presence filled the chamber like pressure before a storm. "Ambassador Vasquez," the Arbiter said. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "Do you know why you have been called here?" Kira had received the message 3 days ago. It had said only that she must come. It had said the matter was survival. She had not slept since then. "No, High Arbiter," she said. "I do not know. Humanity has been an observer in this council for 37 of your years," the Arbiter said. "In that time, your species has not been permitted to speak in this chamber. You are young. You are inexperienced. By our laws, you should not even be here." Kira said nothing. She had learned that silence was often the wisest response. "But the laws are changing," the Arbiter continued. "They are changing because something is coming. Something we thought was only a story. Something we refused to believe was real." The Arbiter made a gesture, and the air in front of Kira filled with images. She saw star systems, hundreds of them. Then she saw those same systems go dark, one by one. The stars did not explode. They did not collapse. They simply stopped existing. "We call it the Hollow," the Arbiter said. "It is a darkness that eats. It has been moving through the outer edges of the galaxy for thousands of years. We told ourselves it was natural. We told ourselves it would stop. We were wrong. The images changed. Now Kira saw projections, calculations, paths drawn across the map of the galaxy. All of them led to the same place. All of them led to the core, where the oldest civilizations lived, where the Council made its home. It will reach us in 18 of your months, the Arbiter said. Perhaps less. And we have no way to stop it. The chamber erupted in noise. Species shouted in languages that Kira's translator could not handle. Some of them were angry. Some of them were afraid. The Cathari made sharp clicking sounds that meant they wanted to fight. The Morvani pulsed with colors that meant they were thinking very fast. The Arbiter raised one hand, and silence fell again. We have studied this threat for centuries, it said. We have sent our greatest ships. We have used our most powerful weapons. Nothing works. The Hollow consumes everything we send. It grows stronger with each thing it eats. The Arbiter turned its ancient gaze back to Kira. She felt the weight of that look like a physical force. But then we found something interesting. We found records of a human colony called Kepler 442b. 40 years ago, that colony encountered something that matches the description of the Hollow. The colony was destroyed, but some of the humans survived. They escaped. Kira felt cold. She knew about Kepler 442b. Everyone on Earth knew about it. It was the reason humanity had built its secret fleet. It was the reason they had stopped trusting the Council. You are the only species in recorded history to survive contact with the Hollow, the Arbiter said. We need to know how. We need to know what your people saw. We need to know what they did. Kira looked around the chamber at the thousands of alien faces watching her. These beings had ruled the galaxy for longer than she could imagine. They had treated humanity like children, like pets, like curiosities to be studied and controlled. And now they were afraid. 40 years ago, Kira said, her voice steady, my people came to this council. We told you what happened at Kepler 442b. We begged you to listen. We showed you our evidence. She paused and let the silence stretch. You called us traumatized primitives. You said we had mistaken natural phenomena for monsters. You told us to go home and stop bothering the adults with our nightmares. The Arbiter's light flickered. It was shame, Kira realized. The oldest being in the galaxy was feeling shame. Yes, the Arbiter said quietly. We did say those things. We were wrong. Kira nodded slowly. Yes, you were. She reached into her coat and pulled out a small device. It was human technology, simple and crude by galactic standards. But it contained 200 years of data, 200 years of watching, 200 years of preparing for this exact moment. I will tell you what we know, she said. But first, we need to talk about what we want in return. The Council had never negotiated with a species as young as humanity. They were about to learn that humans did not ask for things politely. They demanded. They bargained. They fought. And they never ever forgot when someone refused to listen. The chamber was in chaos. Kira stood on her floating platform and watched as species that had been silent for 1,000 years suddenly found their voices. The Cathari War Master was clicking so fast that her translator gave up and showed only static. The Morvani were flashing colors at each other in patterns that hurt her eyes. The Valori Arbiter let them argue. It floated in place, its ancient light dim and patient. It had seen this before, Kira realized. It had seen councils panic and fight and eventually calm down. It had been doing this for longer than human civilization had existed. Finally, after what felt like hours, the noise began to fade. Species returned to their platforms. The clicking and flashing and shouting stopped. All eyes turned back to the small human woman in the center of the chamber. You said you want something in return, the Arbiter said. What does humanity want? Kira activated her device. Holographic images filled the air around her. Star maps, fleet positions, technology specifications, research data that the Council had never seen. "First," she said, "I will tell you what we know. Then I will tell you what we want." She pointed to the images. Kepler 442b was a farming colony. 3,000 people, families, children. They were the first humans to settle outside our home system. They were supposed to be the beginning of our expansion into the galaxy. The images changed. Now they showed the colony itself. Simple buildings, green fields, happy people working under an alien sun. On the night of the attack, the stars went out. Not all of them, just the ones on the western horizon. One by one, they disappeared. The colonists thought it was a cloud at first. Then they realized the stars were not hidden. They were gone. The next image showed darkness. Pure, complete darkness that seemed to have weight and depth. The hollow came over the mountains like a wave. It did not move fast. It did not need to. There was nowhere to run. The colonists sent a distress signal, but they knew help was too far away. They knew they were going to die. Kira paused. The chamber was completely silent. But something strange happened. A woman named Dr. Sarah Chun was working in her laboratory when the hollow reached her building. She was studying energy fields, trying to create better shields for human ships. When the darkness touched her lab, it stopped. The images showed a small building surrounded by impossible blackness. The building was glowing with a faint blue light. The hollow could not enter. It tried for 6 hours. It pushed against the energy field that Dr. Chun's experiment was creating. And then, when the sun rose, the hollow retreated. The Keth-Ari War Master leaned forward. What was this energy? What did she create? She did not know, Kira admitted. Her experiment was an accident. She was trying to create something else entirely. But whatever she made, the hollow could not consume it. It was the first thing in the universe that the hollow could not eat. Kira changed the images again. Now they showed escape ships lifting off from a ruined colony. Only a few hundred people had survived. Dr. Chun was one of them. When the survivors returned to Earth, they told their story. They brought Dr. Chun's research. They begged the government to prepare for what was coming. And humanity listened. She looked around the chamber at the alien faces. "We came to you for help. We thought the great and wise Galactic Council would want to know about a threat that could destroy everything. We thought you would work with us to find a solution." Her voice grew harder. "Instead, you laughed at us. Your scientists said Dr. Chun's data was impossible. Your military experts said the hollow was a myth. Your philosophers said humans were too young to understand the universe. You sent us home like children who had bad dreams." The Arbiter's light flickered again. "We have already admitted we were wrong." "Yes, you have," Kira said. "But being wrong has a cost. While you were ignoring us, we were working. For 40 years, humanity has been studying the hollow. We have sent probes into the areas it consumed. We have built sensors to track its movement. We have experimented with Dr. Chun's accidental discovery." She smiled, and the aliens who knew human expressions felt uncomfortable. "We know more about the hollow than any species in this galaxy. We know where it comes from. We know what it wants. And we know how to hurt it." The chamber exploded with noise again. This time, the noise was different. It was not fear or anger. It was hope. It was desperation. It was thousands of species suddenly realizing that maybe, just maybe, they did not have to die. The Morvani delegate spoke. Its voice was like wind chimes in a storm. "If you know how to fight this thing, why have you not told us? Why have you kept this secret?" "Because you would not have believed us," Kira said simply. "Because you still think of us as children. Because every time we tried to share our research, your scientists rejected it without reading it. They said humans were too primitive to understand real physics. She let that truth hang in the air. So we stopped asking for permission. We stopped trying to convince you. We decided to solve the problem ourselves. And now, when you finally need our help, we are the only ones who can give it. The Arbiter moved closer to her platform. Its ancient light was brighter now, more focused. What do you want, Ambassador? Name your price. Kira had practiced this moment for years. She had imagined it in 1,000 different ways. Now that it was here, she felt perfectly calm. Humanity wants 3 things, she said. First, we want full membership in the Council. No more observer status. No more waiting for permission to speak. We want an equal voice in every decision. The Gethari made sounds of protest, but the Arbiter silenced them with a look. Second, we want access to the archives. All of them. Not the limited files you give to young species. We want the complete history of the galaxy. We want the technology you have hidden. We want the knowledge you have declared forbidden. Now even the Arbiter looked shocked. The archives contain things that could destroy civilizations. There are weapons in those files that ended the primordial wars. We sealed them away to protect the universe. The universe is about to be eaten, Kira said. I think we can worry about safety later. And the third thing? The Arbiter asked quietly. Kira took a deep breath. This was the request that would change everything. This was the demand that would break the Council's oldest laws. We want you to remove all restrictions on human development. No more caps on our technology. No more limits on our research. No more watchers making sure we do not grow too fast. She looked at the Arbiter directly. We want you to let humanity become whatever humanity is going to become. And we want you to trust us not to destroy ourselves. The chamber was silent. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Galactic Council had nothing to say. They had built their entire civilization on the idea that younger species needed to be controlled. They had convinced themselves that it was for the good of everyone. And now a young species was asking them to admit that maybe they had been wrong about everything. The Arbiter floated in the darkness, its light flickering with thoughts that Kira could not read. Finally, it spoke. We will vote. The Council will decide. Kira nodded. Then I suggest you decide quickly. Every day you waste is a day the Hollow gets closer. She sat down on her platform and waited. She had done everything she could. The rest was up to them. But she was not worried. She had seen the fear in their eyes. She had seen the hope when she mentioned the solution. They would argue and complain and make speeches about tradition and safety. And then they would give humanity exactly what it wanted. Because the alternative was extinction. And Kira knew that even the oldest beings in the universe were afraid to die. The vote took 3 days. In that time, Kira did not sleep. She sat on her platform in the great chamber and watched as the oldest civilizations in the universe argued about whether to trust humanity. Some of the arguments were in languages her translator could understand. Most were not. The Gethari War Master came to her platform on the first night. Up close, the insectoid being was even more frightening. Its shell was scarred from 100 battles. Its eyes reflected Kira's face in a dozen different angles. I do not like humans, the War Master said. Its voice was like rocks grinding together. You are soft. You are weak. You die too easily. We know, Kira said calmly. That is why we learned to be clever instead. The War Master made a sound that might have been a laugh. My people have fought wars across this galaxy for 10,000 years. We have never lost. We are the greatest warriors the universe has ever seen. It leaned closer. Kira could smell something like burning copper. We sent a fleet to study the Hollow, 50,000 ships. Our best commanders. Our most powerful weapons. The War Master paused. None of them came back. Not one. Kira nodded slowly. I know. We tracked that fleet. We saw what happened to it. Then you know why I am here. The War Master's many eyes focused on her with terrible intensity. I am here because my people are afraid. We have never been afraid before. We do not know what to do with this feeling. It reached out one massive claw and touched Kira's shoulder. The touch was surprisingly gentle. You say humans know how to hurt this thing. You say you have a plan. I do not understand your plan. I do not trust your species. But I will vote to give you what you want. Why? Kira asked. Because fear is worse than death, the War Master said. And right now, you are the only one offering hope. It turned and walked back to its platform. Kira watched it go and felt something she had not expected to feel, respect. On the second day, the Marvani came to her. They did not walk. They floated, their crystal bodies catching the light and breaking it into rainbows. The one who spoke to her was old even by Marvani standards. Its surface was cracked and clouded, like ice that had melted and frozen again many times. We have studied your proposal, the Marvani said. Its voice was like music played on glass instruments. It violates 17 fundamental laws of the Council. It contradicts 3,000 years of philosophical doctrine. It challenges everything we believe about the nature of civilizations. Kira waited for the rejection. She had prepared herself for this moment. It is brilliant, the Marvani said instead. We do not understand how a species as young as yours could think this way. But we recognize genius when we see it. You will vote yes? Kira asked carefully. We will vote to give you access to the archives, the Marvani said. We will vote to remove restrictions on your development. But we have a question first. Ask it. The Marvani's surface flickered with complex patterns. The energy field that Dr. Chun created by accident. You have spent 40 years studying it. You have learned to reproduce it. You have built something with it. It was not a question, but Kira nodded anyway. What have you built, Ambassador? What is humanity hiding? Kira smiled. If you vote yes, you will find out. If you vote no, it will not matter anyway. The Marvani made a sound like crystals singing. Kira's translator called it laughter. Humans are interesting, it said. We have watched thousands of species rise and fall. Most of them are predictable. They follow patterns we have seen before. But you do not follow patterns. You do not do what we expect. Is that good or bad? Kira asked. We do not know yet, the Marvani admitted. But we want to find out. On the third day, the Arbiter called for silence. The chamber fell quiet. Thousands of species on thousands of platforms turned to face the center. The vote will now take place, the Arbiter announced. The question is simple. Will the Council grant humanity's requests? Lights began to appear above each platform. Green for yes. Red for no. Blue for those who chose not to vote. Kira watched the lights spread across the chamber like stars being born. At first, the colors were mixed. Red lights appeared among species who had been enemies of humanity since first contact. Green lights appeared among species Kira had never heard of. Then the pattern began to change. More green lights. Fewer red ones. Species that had been silent for centuries suddenly voted yes. Old alliances broke apart as members voted against each other. The Qatari platform glowed green. The War Master looked at Kira and made a gesture she did not understand. Her translator called it a salute. The Marvani platform glowed green, the ancient crystal being pulsed with colors that meant satisfaction. One by one, the green lights spread until they outnumbered the red by 10 to 1. The chamber looked like a garden of emerald stars. Only the Valori platform remained dark. The Arbiter floated in silence, its light flickering with thoughts too complex for Kira to read. "The Valori choose not to vote," the Arbiter finally said. "We will not stand in the way of this decision. But we cannot support the destruction of laws we created so long ago." It turned to face Kira. "You have what you wanted, Ambassador. The archives are open. The restrictions are removed. Humanity is free to become whatever it will become." Kira stood up. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. "Thank you, High Arbiter. I know this was not easy for you." "Easy?" The Arbiter's light flickered with something that might have been dark humor. "We just destroyed 12,000 years of careful work. We just admitted that everything we believed about younger species might be wrong. Nothing about this was easy." It moved closer to her. Its light was warm now, almost gentle. "But the alternative was extinction. And we have learned over our long existence that survival requires change. Even painful change." The Arbiter raised its voice so the entire chamber could hear. "The Council has voted. Humanity is now a full member with all rights and responsibilities. The archives are open to them. All restrictions on their development are removed." It paused. "May the universe forgive us if we have made a mistake." Kira pulled out a communication device. It was small and simple, but it was connected to ships on the other side of the galaxy. Ships that had been waiting for this moment. "This is Ambassador Vasquez," she said. "Operation Phoenix is approved. Begin immediately." She looked at the thousands of alien faces watching her. Some were hopeful. Some were afraid. Some were curious about what would happen next. "I hope you are ready," she said to them, "because humanity has been preparing for this moment for 200 years. And now you are going to see what we can really do." In shipyards across human space, lights began to turn on. Engines that had never been tested began to power up. Weapons that existed only in theory began to become real. The Hollow was coming. The galaxy was afraid. But for the first time in 40 years, the fear was mixed with something else. Hope. The galaxy changed in 12 hours. When the Council vote passed, messages flew across space at faster than light speed. They reached every world, every station, every ship. The archives were open. The Forbidden's knowledge was free. And humanity was leading the charge against the Hollow. On Earth, President Maria Santos stood in front of a screen that showed her entire planet. She was tired. She had not slept in 4 days. But she was also smiling. "Begin the broadcast," she said. Her face appeared on every screen on Earth and every human colony. Billions of people stopped what they were doing to watch. "People of Earth," she said, "for 200 years we have kept a secret. When our colony at Kepler 442b was destroyed, we learned something terrible about the universe. There is a darkness out there, a hunger that consumes everything it touches. We call it the Hollow, and it is coming." She paused to let that sink in. "But we also learned something else. We learned that humanity does not give up. We do not surrender. When the universe tells us we cannot win, we find a way to change the rules." Behind her, a holographic image appeared. It showed a ship unlike anything ever built. It was massive, larger than cities, larger than some moons. Its hull glowed with energy that seemed to bend light around it. "This is the Defiance," the president said. "We have been building it in secret for 150 years. It carries technology that the rest of the galaxy said was impossible. It is powered by the same energy that saved our people at Kepler 442b, and in 12 hours, it will lead our fleet against the Hollow." The image changed to show thousands of smaller ships surrounding the Defiance. Human ships, yes, but also ships from other species. The Cathari had sent their remaining battle fleets. The Morvani had sent their research vessels. Dozens of other species had volunteered to join the fight. "We do not know if we will win," the president admitted. "We do not know if any of us will come back."